Hello everyone, and welcome to another video from Eagles of Empire Miniatures. I'm really excited to do this video today because it's actually going to be the first time we do an official battle report. I had a chance to go to Copenhagen during the weekend to play two really fun and exciting games with my mates Jonas, Thomas and Jens. And this is a report of one of the battles we had on that Saturday. So I'm gonna do it step by step, round by round, talking you to the purchases, the tactics, and also the action each round. So as this is the first time we do it, drop some comments below so I know if it works or if there's things you think we can improve. We want to make Eagles of Empire and playing Eagles of Empire skirmish games easy and understandable and accessible with these videos. So please give us any feedback you have after watching this battle report. So let's jump into it. Jonas had prepared a really wonderful French entree for us, so we had a good meal before jumping into the action here. So we are in Loire Valley. We have a French deployment zone to the left, and we have a Prussian deployment zone to the right. There is three objectives on the table. Orange star, the campsite, 4 command points each round that will generate. The red star up in the right corner is there is a battle going on up there regarding a lost company regimental colors, so that also generate command points 4 per round. And in the middle we have a farmhouse with some left behind ammo, so that will generate 4 command points and 1 ammo each round you hold it. So those are the 3 tactical objectives on the table that we will be fighting over. We decided to start out with a rather compact and short game, since it was the first time that some of the players played the game. So we decided to go with 18 victory points as victory condition. You could always extend that if you want to have more troops, have a longer game. You can go up to like 24 or 30 or 36 victory points. That's really up to how much time you had. We had an afternoon. We wanted to give a few games in there, so we decided to go with 18 for the first game. So round 1. French stats to the left, Prussians to the right. Since neither side held any objectives in the first round, they would not get any additional income. They would have a start income of 9 command points, which is also pre-agreed. French purchases, well, after thinking long and hard about it, they decided to go with a squad of French Zouaves, really sturdy, a unit that can take a lot of heat in battle. Their morale will not be affected. They have a special ability enabling them not to be affected by casualties on the morale. So these guys can really go into the heat of the battle. They also purchased a squad of French line infantry, and lastly they purchased a squad of Garde Mobile. So Prussian purchases. The Prussian side purchased a full section, as 2 squads of Prussian line infantry, and also that gave them the opportunity to have a few command points left for the doctrine activation. I'll get back to that. So let's have a look at the tactics for round 1. So the French deployed in the left lower corner, and they will be pushing up their Garde Mobile towards the campsite. Want to go up there and secure those 4 command points of income rather quickly, while the line infantry and the Zouaves would go into what we what we thought would be the most contested spot on the table, namely the farmhouse in the middle. So they will be moving up that way. German tactics for round 1. Well, as the Germans had us 3 spare command points, they only purchased for 6. They had enough to make a double movement using their doctrine card ability, German tactics, where you pay a command point for each squad that is in command, as a squad or section that has an officer attached. So they were able to do a double movement, blitzing up towards their the Red Star tactical objective. And round 1 action, well, not a whole lot of action. Round 1 was a lot of movement really, but we saw the usage of the German doctrine cards, which kind of, I think, staled the French a little bit. They didn't see that coming, I think. So I think they felt the sweat on the forehead after this one. Round 2, 0 objectives held by the French. So 0 command points in income, thus no purchases and no victory points. Prussian, well, they had the double movement, and they actually got up there. They got the command, the tactical objectives, so they got 4 command points of income, and that allowed them to purchase a unit. So they purchased a Krupp artillery gun, and no victory points. So after the beginning at round 2, victory points 0-0. Moving on to round 2 tactics. Well, the Prussians had an idea with this gun. Since the 2 deployment zones were placed on the same side of the table, which is not the standard setup, but we decided to go this way, there would be a clear line of fire from the Prussian deployment zone down towards the French deployment zone, which gave it a fun element. Since a purchase of a Krupp gun could actually, with the long range that a Krupp gun has, could actually put some pressure on the French deployed units coming out of the deployment zone. So that was part of the Prussian tactics. Go in there, put some pressure on the French side, maybe even disrupting their tactics a little bit. The French, well, they'll be pushing up towards the campsite. They need to get some income now. The Germans are already clocking income from the Red Star, so they need to grab that Orange Star, while keep on pushing towards the middle with their key units. Further, the Prussians, well, they're going to be moving as fast as they can with the 2. They actually divided their section into 2 squads now. The uppermost squad, the northernmost squad, keeping the officer, and they're pushing in towards the middle. So round 2 action, well, again, not a whole lot of action. We are out of range for rifle fire, and we are out of range for artillery fire. But there was actually a line of sight down towards the Zouaves, moving up towards the farmhouse. So we got to shoot the Krupp gun. Artillery works the following way: that the standard artillery has a D6 fire rate, and 6s hit, and there is a non-savable kill on that hit. So you roll for 6s really. We didn't roll 6, unfortunately. Well, bad day for Germany or Prussia that way. But the Zouaves get to move out of sight, but we still have a gun directed down towards the French deployment zone here, really putting some pressure on them. And I think it's also worth mentioning that our deployment of the Prussian deployment of the artillery really had the French rethink their strategy, and it took us a little bit, took the Prussian side a little bit by surprise what happened next. So round 3. Now the French also have an objective hold, so they also get 4 command points. They purchased 4 victory points. Germans did not purchase quite that much victory points. They purchased 2, and they had 2 command points kept in reserve, again to use their doctrine card to speed up the infantry, giving them a double movement, wanting to push for that middle, getting the farmhouse, getting that extra income. which could perhaps generate an upside for them. So that's how the reinforcements and purchases were divided in round 3. Round 3 tactics. It's getting more and more excited now. Things are really heating up in the middle. There's a group gun pointing down towards the French deployment zone, kind of keeping a lid on the action down there. The French are rethinking their tactic at this point to really put some pressure back on the Prussians by buying 4 victory points. Remember, the faction that has the most victory points at the start of any round gets the initiative. So now the French actually have the initiative. They get to move first, they get to fire first. So the dynamics have changed a little bit here. Now the Prussians are going to move for the center farmhouse during round 3, and they're going to secure that. We decided before the game that the perimeter of the centermost objective would be the outer edge of the walled-in courtyard around the farmhouse. So having units inside that area would secure it for you. If both sides have units inside the walled-in area, the objective would be contested, generating resources from neither side. So as we see here in round 3, the Prussians would use their speedy movement tactics, their doctrine card, to go in to secure the middle farmhouse and to secure that extra income for round 4. And that's actually what happened in round 3. You can see here some action. We had a little bit of a shootout. The Prussians, one of the squads taking some casualty there. The French Zouaves and the French line infantry enjoying hard cover from behind the wall, as well as the Germans are also enjoying a hard cover, giving each squad an extra 2 dice defense when rolling. So Prussians having secured the middle, we go to the start of round 4. Now, again, really surprisingly, the French faction decides not to invest in pushing any further troops on the table, not to keep anything back to activate doctrines, but just going the full Monty into victory points, putting that extra tactical pressure on the Prussians to do the business on the table. The Prussians thinking hard about this, getting, of course, 4 command points for the Red Star, and also now 4 command points and 1 ammo for the centermost star. They decide to invest in 4 victory points, and they will use 2 command points and 1 ammo to do an artillery strike. The Prussians have a special doctrine ability costing 2 command points and 1 ammo, which gives them a D6 artillery strike to any unit they decide, as long as it's in line of sight of one of the Prussian officers. And we actually did have that on the table. So they're going to use that, and then they're going to keep 2 command points in reserve for round 5. So round 4 went as follows. We had a French side now jumping the wall, going inside the courtyard, going to contest the middle objective, rejecting further Prussian income from that point. And we have a Prussian squad, the northernmost squad, with line of sight from their officer down towards the French guard mobile, stirring up some a cup of coffee or a bowl of soup down there in the camp, not doing that much. They're going to get an artillery strike right in their soup bowl. So that is what's going to happen in round 4. And the action went like this. Well, the artillery strike, 6 dice artillery strike, straight down the guard mobile, just sipping coffee, smoking a cigarette, talking good times. They're going to get an artillery strike right down the middle. And it went like this. Only 1 out of the 6 dice actually came out with a 6. So they lost 1 manpower, 1 unit strength, while the two other French units, they jumped the wall, contesting the centermost objective. You can see also here, I just added the Prussian doctrine card that we were using. There are a few cards available for each faction. We went with the one called Blut und Eisen, which is the standard most Prussian doctrine card for the imperial phase of the war. And it has each doctrine card has 3 activations you can make, cost command points, or maybe a combination of command points and ammo resources. So we went with the one called Artillerieunterstützung, artillery support, and it's conducted during the shooting phase, and it gives you the opportunity to direct the artillery strikes, a 66 artillery strike towards an enemy unit, as long as you have line of sight of your officer. So that is what happened in round 4. Right, round 5. At this point, it was becoming a little, let's say, stressful for the Prussians. The French weren't really suffering that much casualties. The middlemost objective was contested, and the French were really, the strategy that they applied to counter the pressure of the Prussian gun directed at their deployment zone was kind of starting to pay off. So the French went straight on, purchased 4 victory points. The Prussians, they had to do something. They knew they're going to lose. They couldn't just start purchasing 4 victory points each round. They would lose that being so much behind already. They had to do something on the table. They had to break the middle. And how to break the middle? Well, there's only one way, and that is with Blut and Eisen, like Bismarck said. So get some manpower on the table, direct it at the middle, and clear out those sturdy Zouaves from the middle. So the Germans, the Prussians, went right ahead and bought 2 squads, a full section of infantry. They did that using the 4 command points generated by their star, but also with the 2 they had saved from round 4. So after purchasing round 5, we have a victory point score of 12 points to France and 6 points to Prussia. Prussian commanders starting to feel the pressure here. Round 5 tactics. Well, again, the Prussian Krupp gun weren't really doing that much because, well, nothing was coming out of the French deployment zone. The Guard Mobile still just, I don't know, baking waffles, rolling up cigarettes, doing whatever they were doing down there in the camp, while the hard-hitting Zouaves and the line infantry were doing all the hard work in the middle, contesting the middle farmhouse objective. From the country road to the right, you can now see there's 2 squads, as one full section of Prussian infantry reeling up towards the center to support the 2 squads already in the middle in the firefight with the Zouaves and with the line infantry. They're starting to suffer some casualties. The Germans need more manpower up there, and that's going to come right now here in round 5. So round 5 action. Well, actually what happened was that the French line infantry made a adversary attack right down the main lane in front of the farmhouse, straight into the muzzles of the Prussian rifles, and they got shot to pieces. But while the Prussians were occupied shooting down the French infantry, the Zouaves, they skipped around the corner of the house and went inside the building. So at the end of round 5, we'd have the Prussians firing away the French line infantry, but now having to deal with probably one of the hardest and most sturdy French units occupying the center house. And still remember that the Prussian players have been put under pressure by the French players in the match within the match for the victory points. So knowing that each side will only generate 4 points, it's just a question of time now for the Prussians. They really need to turn this around. Going to round 6, well, each side holds an objective, each side gets 4 command points, and each side goes right ahead and buys 4 command points, victory points aside. So that brings up this total score to 16 victory points for the French and 10 victory points for the Prussians. So the Prussians are lagging behind now. The French side is only 2 victory points from winning the game. At this point, there's really you can only ask for a miracle if you're a Prussians, but you know, maybe miracles sometimes happen. Let's see. So round 6 tactics. Well, at this point, we had a clear target for the Krupp gun. The Krupp gun, standing there since round 2, finally had something to fire at. So it had a clear line of sight towards the Zouaves now inside the building. So that's gonna roll a d6, hitting on 6s towards the Zouaves. Any hits will be unsavable, even if they're in hard cover. That's how artillery works. At the same time, the Prussians in the courtyard and the 2 Prussian squads now up at the wall will be firing at the Zouaves, trying to clear the house. The Guard Mobile, well, I don't know, I think they're writing postcards home at this point. Maybe they're wrapping up some Christmas presents. They're not that worried. It's looking good. They're in the lead. They don't have to worry, you know, c'est la vie. Round 6 action. Well, the Zouaves, they're getting it. They're getting fire from all directions. They're suffering immense casualties. We actually we were actually having a laugh at the table because we thought it would look kind of like this the classic painting from the Battle of Sedan, the dernier cartouche, the last cartridge. The Zouaves were the key unit of the French force in this game. They took such a beating. Eventually in round 6 they got wiped out, but they kept 4 German squads busy. They denied the Germans the center farmhouse and those vital command points that could have been turned into Prussian victory points, which could have tipped the scale. So really the unit of the match would be the French Zouaves. Now, kind of sensing that victory is in the air, the Guard Mobile finally moves forward, starting to move up towards the middle just to see if there's any other work left to be done. But as we go into round 7, it becomes clear we have a winner. 4 command points is awarded to the French side. They buy 4 victory points and that takes them straight up to 20. At the same time, as the Zouaves died a heroic death inside the farmhouse now goes back to German hands in round 7. So Prussia actually holds 2 command points and gets 2 objectives and get 8 command points plus ammo. But even if they spend the whole shebang on victory points, they can't make it. So we have a winner. It was the French side. They saw it already in round 2 when the Prussians spent 4 command points on a gun that will close down French reinforcements. So they had to do it with only 3 units. And boy oh boy did those Zouaves pull through. They had a ton of fire poured at them. They had artillery directed at them. And they took a beating, but they held the center for just as long as it took to achieve that final amount of command points that could be turned into French victory points and give the French the final victory. So congratulations to Jens and to Jonas, who gave Thomas and I a really fight to the finish here. We tried everything in our power, but the ability of the French side of Jonas and Jens to really pivot their strategy away from what they originally had thought. Since we put the gun on the table, the Krupp gun, just gave them I think a tactical upside towards Thomas and I. We really didn't see it coming. We thought we could crumble the middle with just sheer might of the German infantry, also because we have the doctrine, the Blut und Eisen doctrine, which makes the Prussians really mobile. The infantry can make these double movements. You can really get a lot of width on the table quite fast with your units. And remember, cavalry, most cavalry units can't shoot, but infantry doing double movements can shoot, and they can shoot a lot. They can do a lot of damage. So Prussian tactics usually is very, very strong. Even if the French rifles have longer range, you can counter that tactically by doing these double movements going within rifle range with your needle guns. So a really, really fun, a great game, a epic victory for the Zouaves. They died to the last man, but they gave the Emperor a victory. So congratulations on that time. So that's a wrap for this battle report. We hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to post some more of these since this is the first time we do it. Don't be shy. Give us some feedback. Let us know what works out and what doesn't work out visually. We're trying to do a lot of work on the visuals here, so you can really follow what's going on in the game. Each of the units have been marked with graphics, so you can see, even if the miniatures are tiny on the photographs, you can see which units are which, and you can follow the tactical dispositions, so you can yourself maybe get inspired or have good ideas on how to do tactical twists and turns when you're playing Eagles of Empire skirmish rules. So I hope you all will have a great week out there, and please enjoy your hobby, get some good games on the table, have some fun with your mates, and take care. That's all from us. Have a good one. Bye bye.